Welcome to Desperately Seeking the 80s. I am Meg.
And I am Jessica. And Meg and I have been friends since 1982. We got through middle school and high school together here in New York City, where we still live.
And where we podcast about New York City in the 80s. I do Ripped from the Headlines.
And I do Pop Culture.
So Jesse Jackson died this week.
Indeed he did.
And we did do a story about Jesse Jackson when he wasn't having his best moment. And I felt bad about that this week because we got a little activity that was about that episode. And I was like, oh, sorry. But honestly, he did do it. Anyway, that's a callback. Check it out. But on the bright side,
I love that you're like, he did do it. But anyway, but you were actually saying something before we began that I think was, everyone knows this, but it's really refreshing to hear someone say it out loud. So I'm quoting you to you when you said, when someone dies, it's so common for whoever is reporting it or whatever media is covering it to make that person into a saint. You sang like a little heavenly angel chorus to illustrate it, which I really think was fantastic. But you were saying that Joe Scarborough did some coverage where he was basically saying, interesting, complicated man. His behavior and actions, mixed bag.
Yeah.
And no one is perfect. And he did go through a few episodes of his life where his version of imperfection was pretty stark. But the other things that he did with civil rights were really amazing. So they're opposite ends of the spectrum.
And I was speaking to my mother about it today, and she reminded me of something that is very appropriate for our podcast. The fact that Jesse Jackson ran for president increased the amount of Black people who were voting and led to David Dinkins being elected mayor, among other things.
That is a really interesting perspective.
Yes.
That is fascinating. R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Before we move on to our regularly scheduled programming, there's another person who we lost this week.
Yes.
James Vanderbeek, famously Dawson of Dawson's Creek.
So sad.
So sad. I was not a fan of the show, whatever.
I was.
I bet you were.
Very much so.
But what I was going to say is that what was really affecting is that from the moment he got sick, and, this is all social media posting and stuff, I don't think I've ever seen a celebrity receive as much support and outpouring of love in my life as James received from his former castmates, from, just other celebrities of his generation.
He did some really wonderful work after Dawson's Creek. A lot of it very funny, where he was basically making fun of himself, and it hit so right, spot on.
Yeah, I heard someone actually interviewed say that he had an unbelievable knack for comic timing and that he really should have explored comic acting more because he was hilarious.
He did as an adult.
Well, yes, and the stuff with his family that was online a lot, like singing and really heart-wrenching. And I'll tell you something, because, I enjoy nothing more than social media posts that make me sob. Quick aside, are you aware of the little macaque monkey named, I think, Chung or Zheng, whose mother died, and the zookeepers gave him a stuffed orangutan, and he carries it every place, and he's tiny. And they put him in the enclosure with the other monkeys, and they rejected him. They literally booted him away from them. Well, there's an update, and they finally have accepted him. I was sobbing, just so you know.
Thank
so
God.
this is an aside.
Our opener
Just
today is very
lots
macabre.
and so that little monkey's going to be just fine.
Okay.
But my point was, I enjoy a good sob. So Alfonso Ribeiro posted a photo of him with James Vanderbeek at his bedside as he was dying, and the two of them holding each other, and this tribute that he wrote to, and I was just sitting in my living room sobbing sobbing. It was so, so anyway, clearly a lovely man.
When did you learn how to swim?
You know what I love about you so much before I answer this question? So all that I can see of your face is like the bridge of your nose and your eyes over the pop screen on the mic. And whenever you do your engagement question, you lean in and squint at me. So I know it's going to be a good one by how much you're squinching up your face. I have a good answer for you.
Great.
So I learned how to swim when I was probably 7 or so, because earlier in the summer, I'd been in France and was told, because I couldn't swim, I was told to hold the hand of the little girl who's 4 years older than me, from the family who we were with. And she slipped and fell into the canal and didn't let go of my hand.
Oh my God.
And pulled me into the canal with her. She could swim. I couldn't. Then she let go of my hand in the water. And thank God some fishermen came and plucked me out of the canal.
Near death.
Near death. So that summer, there I am. Picture it. Fort Lauderdale, 1977. I was visiting my Aunt Phyllis and Uncle Jerry. We were at the community pool. And who's there but David Leichman from the Fleming School, my little friend who was my boyfriend.
By coincidence?
Total coincidence.
Crazy.
And I allowed him to teach me how to swim, or at least to like float. So that was my first experience, like getting more in control in the water.
Sweet.
Yeah. So that was the big, but you know, I I had a brief stint on the swim team, which I think we've talked about on the podcast before. So I wound up being a strong, but admittedly slow swimmer.
My sources are New York Magazine, a very long article.
Mm.
On the 4th of July, 1984, on Rockaway Beach, the 117th Street Lifeguard Shack was the hot spot for the wildest parties.
Ooh.
The lifeguards used 50-gallon trash cans to mix what they call bash: vodka, rum, tequila, and Hawaiian punch.
Well, that will send your kidneys into immediate failure.
Hundreds of lifeguards drained 40 kegs, which equals 6,600 cans of beer. And while extreme, some version of that celebration and all the debauchery that went along with it was pretty standard whenever the beaches were open.
40 barrels of bash.
Yeah.
That's nauseating.
New York City beaches and public pools employ the largest lifeguard corps in the United States.
Really?
Really?
Fascinating.
1,374 guards protect 13.3 million annual visitors to 14 miles of beach and 53 outdoor pools from Coney Island to the Bronx. Lifeguards are hired at the city level, and New York is the largest city. Because you might be wondering, what about LA?
Yes, indeed, I was.
Well, there are lots of cities along the coast of Los Angeles County by comparison. Who is in charge of all these lifeguards?
I have no idea. Who?
From 1981 until 2025, it was one man, Peter Stein. New York's version of David Hasselhoff was a short, stout, hairy Jewish guy who started his rise to power when he got a lifeguard job at 15 patrolling Manhattan Beach in South Brooklyn. He hated being a lifeguard. He felt menial tasks like lining garbage cans were beneath him. But it was a decent city job that paid for college. After graduating, he became a gym teacher and continued to lifeguard. He started training lifeguards as well. The job is dangerous and requires physical fitness and life-saving skills, like many first responders. But unlike police, EMTs, and firefighters, the turnover is very high, 25% annually. Lifeguards are usually teenagers looking for part-time work who move on to other jobs in their mid-20s. There are a few old-timers who stick around as long as they can pass the annual fitness tests. Peter was one of these. At his lifeguard school on East 54th Street, he trained wannabe guards to spot heat stroke, how to not be pulled under by a panicked, drowning victim, and the Sylvester method, which was used before CPR was standard. But Peter was never all that interested in the job of saving lives. He saw opportunity in the bureaucracy. He stuck it out in the job, and by 1981, when he was 36, he became the citywide lifeguard coordinator and the president of the Lifeguard Union 508. There were 2 municipal employee unions associated with the lifeguards. Local 508 was for the supervisors. Local 461 was for the rank-and-file teenagers. As the man in charge of giving desirable assignments, Peter Stein was able to curry favor with the supervisors. The supervisors, in turn, kept the rank-and-file in line, ultimately creating a fiefdom for Stein. Peter Stein was now the boss and the guy you go to complain about your boss. And beach life in the 80s was like a scene from The Warriors. Lifeguards would dive into the water to dodge drive-by shootings. Teenagers broke into public pools to party. Floating bodies in pools and body parts washed up on beaches were normal.
Oh my God.
Coney Island guards partied hard and made T-shirts with "We drink, you sink." And New York waters are scary enough on their own. Coney Island has dangerous whirlpools. Orchard Beach has a steep drop-off that catches swimmers off guard. Rainy days can cause unsanitary water flush. You don't want to know.
Just the words water flush. No, thank you.
And the rip currents of Rockaway Beach are notorious for sucking swimmers out to sea. In the 80s, a busy day on Rockaway Beach would involve 40 saves. It also doesn't help that lots of New York kids aren't great swimmers. They haven't grown up with swimming as part of their daily life, so they underestimate nature and overestimate their abilities. All this chaos helped keep Peter Stein in power until last year.
No way.
And all the power he accrued led, predictably, to corruption. Every year, lifeguards have to pass a timed swim test. To get a coveted beach post, you have to swim 440 yards in 6 minutes and 40 seconds. For a pool, 5 minutes, 40 seconds. Periodically, over the years, Stein was called out for extorting money from lifeguards by threatening to fail them on their swim test, or passing cronies of his as long as they voted for him to stay head of the union.
Wait, so he's extorting money from teenagers?
Yeah.
So what is this, like penny ante, like
$10 a piece, actually.
Oh, no way.
There are lots, though.
But there are lots of them.
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
There were fat 50-year-old lifeguards who had supposedly passed the swim test.
Stop it.
People accuse Stein of giving prime lifeguard spots to his friends and sending troublemakers to Beach 32nd Street in Far Rockaway, what they call the 32 Skidoo.
Well, what happens on 32nd Street, Meg? This doesn't sound good.
It's Siberia.
Oh, okay. I thought that was like where the actual warriors come out to play. It's like, I didn't know you guys were so into swimming. Okay. Did you put the beer bottles down for a sec? Clink, clink. Come out to swim.
After 2 boys, ages 12 and 14, disappeared under the waves, and a disorganized, understaffed lifeguard crew failed to save them, Joe McManus started campaigning for Stein's spot as chief lifeguard. McManus saw the improvements in California: beach surveillance, jet skis, physical regimens, and knew how New York could improve. But Stein felt threatened and sent McManus to Beach 32. See, once you're at Beach 32, nobody even knows you're around. It's like, oh, I haven't seen him for months. Where is he? Beach 32.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's bad, but there's something kind of hilarious about it. Like, and I have to admit, I'm having like this vision of what the New York version of Baywatch would be. And it's like, they have the running, but it would be running and like leaping over corpses and like, watch out for that hypodermic. Keep going.
Seriously.
On Beach 32.
When McManus tried for union president, Stein made threats and promises throughout the 5 boroughs and created the rule that every anonymous vote had to be in an envelope with a signed name.
Wait, what? Every anonymous vote
every vote had to be put in an envelope, and you had to sign the envelope.
But that's not anonymous anymore now,
No, it's
is it?
not, Jessica.
So that's kind of ridiculous. Like, not even ridiculous. Like,
well, interesting, isn't it?
Perplexing, because it's so
you're
nonsensical.
Worried that you're nonsensical.
No, not to him, obviously, but just anonymous votes will now not be anonymous is a better directive. There are no more anonymous votes.
Right. That's how you can threaten people, as we well know.
Yes. No. Yes.
How to make an election corrupt? I don't know. Make sure that absolutely everybody has to have an ID, a certain kind of ID that they show at the front. I mean, I'm just saying.
Have people police it in covering their faces with masks while they police it.
Uh-huh. Well, McManus barely got a vote. Knowing he would win, Stein met McManus at the Union Hall in Tribeca. So you're here. Why don't you go home and play with your gun? That's what Stein said to McManus.
Play with your gun?
Yes, Jeff.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Come on. That's just so childish.
Well, it's a little chilling as well.
Yes.
As you can imagine, when you have someone at the head of an organization who cares only about power and not the actual purpose of the organization, a shit show ensues. Does it remind you of anything?
This is reminiscent of something. I can't figure out what it is.
Just making sure you're catching what I'm putting
catching
out there.
The current affairs vibe.
All right. Public advocate Mark Green.
Who, by the way, Mark Green lived in the very first building I lived in after graduating from college on East 88th Street.
That's quite a fun fact.
I'm just giving you trivia, okay?
Public advocate Mark Green determined in 1994 that the lifeguard program was, and this is a quote, swimming in mismanagement, negligence, secrecy, favoritism, conflicts, and deception. Lifeguards dressed up torpedo buoys with jackets and hats to sit their shifts.
Stop it.
There was widespread favoritism in hiring, including passing people who literally couldn't swim. A child had drowned in a wading pool while lifeguards played football nearby.
Oh.
Out of the couple of hundred investigations I did as public advocate, few of any agencies were as secretive and uncooperative as the lifeguard unit.
A sea of corruption.
Yes.
Swimming it. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes. Stein and those in his inner circle profited, which I'm sure will not surprise you.
Unsurprised.
An audit in the 90s uncovered $1.5 million spent on town cars, $2 million on catering, $2.9 million for trips to Hawaii and Israel, $29,250 for jumbo shrimp at a lifeguard convention in Chicago.
Give me that number again.
$29,250 for jumbo shrimp.
I don't know why that's the fact that I know is going to be my takeaway from this entire story.
And in the meantime, the rank and file teenagers got the memo. The alpha male vibe led to appalling instances of sexual harassment and hazing and assault, which I won't even get into because it is so disturbing. But wherever your imagination can go, trust me, that's what they were doing. Of course, right? I mean, of course.
And still sounding familiar.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
What's more, the city's drowning fatality rate was 3 times the national average. So, why was Peter Stein allowed to stay in power through 6 mayoral administrations? Adrian Benepe, I think that's how you pronounce it, Mayor Bloomberg's head of the Parks Department, said, quote, "Every summer was a countdown from when we opened to draining the pools to say nobody drowned. If it's 100 degrees, there's 2 scenarios. We send every cop in the city to keep people out of the water, and there's a riot, or 15 people drown. For all his faults, Stein kept millions of people safe. Now, he didn't keep enough millions of people safe, but they were terrified because he'd been there for so long.
If they pulled one thread on the sweater, that everything would unravel, and then God knows what would happen.
Exactly. Like, you cannot keep people out of the water.
Now, that is interesting to me. I think that it's the ultimate cop-out of, well, we're going to keep a piece of shit in power because he happens to know the rules.
So, a shitty job is better than no one showing up at all. All Stein had to do was threaten a lifeguard strike on the 4th of July to keep the mayors in line.
He's a diabolical little man.
One veteran lifeguard said, quote, "Everyone in the Parks Department hates the lifeguards because we get away with murder. It gets worse and worse every year." But in recent years, Peter Stein began to lose his grip a bit. He became paranoid and prone to rages. Homemade signs started showing up in Conley's, a lifeguard bar in Rockaway, saying, quote, "What does your union do for you after it takes your dues? Let's make lifeguarding great again.
Stop it.
Please remember there is strength in unity."
Wait, stop it.
And in January 2025, Peter Stein quietly retired at the age of 80. He was making $230,000 a year.
What a hateful little shit. Is he dead yet? Can we put him on the
No.
RIP list?
He's not dead.
He walks among us, which is
Yeah.
a tragedy.
You know, I was telling my mom that I was doing this story, and we were kind of joking about how we didn't go to beaches in the 80s or the 90s or the 2000s.
No.
But many people do. I mean, especially now, it's so easy. It's so much more accessible. You just take the ferry over to Far Rockaway. Fun, right?
I would never. I've been to New York City beaches. You could not pay me enough money to get me in the water. Like, never. This is another callback. What was it? Crimson Tide? Yes. After that whole situation, and knowing about bodies and some other sinister flotsam and jetsam, seriously, like, my entire vision of getting into the water in any New York beach is instant death. It's like you walk in and then you walk back out, and from like your kneecaps down, it's only bone. Like, the water has eaten away your flesh.
Well,
you're done. You're done for.
my mom was talking about how Sid Schwager, who she dated for a long time and was a great love of hers, he grew up in New York and he used to be a lifeguard. He was still getting a pension
Stop it right
in
now.
his 80s.
You stop that right now.
Strong union, the lifeguard union.
Oh my God.
I was like, Mommy, oh my God, that's part of the problem. Oh my God.
Like 110%. That's nuts.
I know.
Wow. So I guess the big question is, should we become lifeguards? Maybe that'll be our wacky New York summer.
No, this is not the year
But
to
you
become
love
a lifeguard.
Survivor. You love Survivor. This seems like it's right up your alley.
The thing that the mayors were fearing for all these years has now happened. Peter Stein is not in power anymore, and it's a hot mess out there. I think this summer is going to be really scary on the beaches. I'm just saying. Like, I hope it will someday lead to a situation that is much safer, because that is the point, save the lives and allow us to enjoy our beautiful city. But it's going to be chaos.
Well, I'm hoping that there's been someone jockeying for position who's been like cooking up a plan all this time, so that they're like, ha, Stein's out of the way. Now I can, implement my grand scheme.
There are a bunch of those people that I read about who are like, thank goodness, now we have an opportunity. But still, what he left behind is like in tatters. For them to clean it all up and hire in time.
Yeah, he strikes me as the kind of guy who'd be like,
it's a mad rush right now.
I'm leaving my job. Enjoy the office that I shit in for you to have to now experience.
So this story made me think, obviously, about the current administration and, the fish rots from the head and all that stuff. It also made me think about unions. Have you ever been a member of a union?
No.
Okay, I'm a member of 3 unions, I guess, or 2 really. And I love my unions. Thank God for unions. I am pro-union. Without them, really, trust me, the world would suck. But there's also so much opportunity for corruption, unfortunately, and for this awful bullying and negotiations that ends up undermining the entire purpose of your job.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks.
Yes, there's someone close to me who, he is in a union, and I've been, my jaw has been hanging down as I've been listening to the ineffectual nature of the heads of the union and the general disorganization and terrible communication within the union, bad messaging, just appalling.
But on the other hand, Amazon employees should be allowed to unionize, God damn it. Agreed?
My hatred for squinty Jeff Bezos and that pneumatically inflated Lauren Sanchez is so white hot that all I can do, Meg, is try to restrain myself and say, yes, they should be allowed to unionize.
And to close this out, we're so political today.
Yeah, why not? Look at the freaking world we're living in at the moment. Speaking of, wait, quick political aside. Are you aware that the UN had a special council that I think in the last day, maybe it was even today, declared everything in the Epstein files crimes against humanity? And so they are now going to be able to investigate. And little by little, as European countries have been really going after political figures criminally, the administration's stranglehold on what's to be done seems to be eroding a bit. When I saw that it was crimes against humanity splashed across the news, I was like, oh, that's going to be interesting.
Good news. So in closing, speaking about unions, I, like many people, have become a little addicted to, I need it, I'll just get it from Amazon. No more. You've heard it here. And I've been doing it now for a couple of weeks. It is not hard. You can get it somewhere else.
100%.
So let's do that. No more Amazon.
Yeah. I really, I can't say rarely, infrequently. And when it's a last ditch. So I will join you.
Cool.
You know what? I'm making a commitment, Meg. I will join you.
We just took half an hour off mic.
I think it was more than that. And
Oh
we
God.
covered so much ground.
I guess a lot has happened in the last week.
I mean, should we just give like a quick recap of how much we were able to cover? We covered Nancy Guthrie. We covered many different facets.
I know where she is, by the way,
Yeah.
and I believe she is still alive, just to give some hope out there.
And I encourage you to call the tip line, as did your friend Kate.
Because I have a very good theory about what's going on here.
We covered many different aspects of Epstein and many different aspects of the Trump family.
Ugh.
We made fun of how dumb the Trump boys, the Trump men are.
Ugh.
Which, by the way, as a quick side note, leads me to just quickly open the conversation to how much our friend Alejandra is absolutely mystified by Kimberly Guilfoyle's styling.
I love it.
Particularly her hair.
Face?
Well, the face is a nightmare.
But the styling,
it's the hair.
I hear you.
It's the hair and the mini skirts and like her. So she sends me photos with some regularity and is like, explain. And the other person, the one whose face she can't fathom and also can't get enough of, is Lauren Sanchez.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What is happening to us in this world?
I wonder.
We're being taught what not to do.
Well, I was just going to say, I wonder if there's a younger woman backlash at all against the extreme plasticness
because
of these
this?
creatures.
That would be great. Let's do that. Oh, natural.
Yeah. I mean, it's just so. Sorry, this is my sophisticated answer. It's just so fucking weird. They're just so weird, you know? Like, they're just gross and weird. And then, this is Ale's other obsession. She's like, this is the best. Well, what does Lauren Sanchez look like when the makeup comes off and the lashes do? Like, and I was like, maybe it's like some bizarre scar-filled, pockmarked scenario. Like, what could it be? Like, it's like, what is being spackled over? Anyway, so that's her obsession.
But on to your story.
My story pales in comparison to any of the things we were talking about. I'm going to talk about something that it's a new aspect of something that we have covered before, but it kicked off the 80s and was the death knell of the 70s, all in one shot. We're going to talk about the very last night of Studio 54.
Okay.
Very last night. Did you ever see the movie Last Days of Disco?
Of course.
The Whit Stillman movie? The more that I was reading about this, I was like, Whit, you didn't even make anything up. You just took the entire demise of studio wholesale and just turned that into a movie. So it felt sort of familiar and kind of nice. But I love that movie. I really do. And I love what a total bitch Kate Beckinsale's character is and how she really gets it in the end. It's really quite delightful.
I absolutely saw it. I remember the casting very well, obviously the styling very well, but I don't remember liking it very much.
Well, it was, I think,
the storytelling crisp?
I think it was his next film after Metropolitan. And I think it would have been very hard for anyone to follow up the debut that was like low budge and so on point, with something that people would love. It was like a very sophomore outing. But I really, really enjoyed it. And I liked even just things that like don't even happen that much. Like the girls were living in a shithole. And they were getting like it felt like New York. Like again, it was one of those like he got it right. Like the way you move through the city, the way you live, what it's like to have a bitch roommate. Like all of those things because the Chloe Sevigny character, is the focal point. So it felt very true. So
well, tell me because I literally cannot remember. I think I know something about the last days of Studio 54, but please,
I shall.
The floor.
So I was fascinated to find out the history of the building and that it started out as an opera house.
Ooh.
And that at the time, it was like roughly 1900, there were many, many opera houses in Midtown. So it was one of many.
I guess it's near Carnegie Hall.
Indeed. And it went through various iterations. It was a regular, legit theater. And then CBS bought it, and it was where they filmed a ton of stuff, including What's My Line, Password, the $64,000 question,
Love it.
I've Got a Secret, and your favorite and mine, Captain Kangaroo.
Shut
I am
up.
shutting up.
Are you sure?
I'm 100% positive.
I didn't know he was in New York.
With that haircut, it seemed improbable.
I thought
But
he was
yes.
beaming in from Idaho
From
or
like
something.
outer space. Yes.
Oh my God.
So they moved into that building in 1956. And after 2 decades, they moved out in 1976 and put the building up for sale. And Studio 54 in 1977 opened its doors in that space. So I was like, huh. And that studio for CBS was called Studio 52. At first, it was going to be called Studio 52. And someone eventually was like, dummies, you're on 54th Street. You might want to call it Studio 54, because Ian Schrager and Steve Rubell had another, they had restaurants and clubs in the outer boroughs. And one of them, someone had suggested just use the street name, and it was Lansdowne something. And that's what they called it. So I guess they needed a reminder that, using your actual location in the name of the club helps people to find it. So you can then make them stand outside a rope. So anyway, that is how Steve Rubell and Ian Schrager wound up in Studio 54. And I didn't realize it. Do you know that the heyday of studio that people are still obsessed with lasted 30 months?
Yes, I do know that.
I still find that absolutely stunning.
It really is. I mean, so many iconic institutions open and close in this city and don't make a mark like that. And the fact that they managed to do something so historical in 30 months is crazy.
No, it's completely bananas. I think the
right thing at the right time.
Yeah, and the idea that they made this democracy where all of the, names, the biggest names of the time wanted to be, but they were also letting in normal people. So they were like, if you got into studio,
and fabulous people.
Right. Yes.
Who nobody knew the name of, except that they looked fabulous.
That they were interesting.
Yeah.
Yes. Interesting. Yes. If you were Bridge and Tunnel, the likelihood that you were getting in was 0.
Absolutely 0.
But you did have the opportunity, if you got in as a normal person, to dance the night away with Liza with a Z, because the stars felt safe. In fact, they felt so safe, a lot of shenanigans went on, and we're going to talk about that for a second.
Lots of people had photographs of it.
Yes, they did. No one seemed to care about that, which was really interesting.
It is interesting.
Such a photographed club. And
while they're getting trashed and doing drugs and dancing away, nobody was careful.
No, not at all. So is that the sign of another time? Is that the 70s? Like, it didn't occur to them yet that, like,
I mean, now people would be, well, and in fact they do, pose. They want to be photographed. I don't know if they did at Studio 54 want to be photographed. I think they were just
there.
It.
Yeah. In 1978, so 1 year after opening, federal officials began investigations into the club. And their investigation was, where'd you get the money to open the club? And it was determined that there were some mob ties. So they were getting mob money or other criminally associated funds to open it. And then it was determined that they were, or it was alleged that they were continuing, their original investors to launder money through the club. And I love, by the way, in 1978, the idea of a disco was still so new that the New York Times calls it a discothèque, spelled discothè accent grave, Q-U-E. So still very French.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think you have talked about this on the podcast. Discotecas were in Europe.
Indeed. So
before they came over here.
Yes. On December 14th, members of the IRS and the DEA flooded unannounced into Studio 54 and started grabbing all of the files that they could out of the place. They were just getting every bit of information they could. Now, who is the lawyer? Who's our most...
Roy Cohn.
Of course. So Roy Cohn, who we've talked about, said that all of the money laundering and also the charges about cocaine moving through the club were, quote, definitely a setup. But officials of the strike force unit of the U.S. Attorney's Office showed up and found an illegal cache of 300 Quaalude pills. Oops, that's a lot of Quaaludes, people. In a basement safe. And of course, Schrager and Rubel were like, that's not our Quaaludes in our safe. We have no idea how they got there.
Do you find it at all interesting that their office was in the actual club?
I think
I guess that's the way it works in The Sopranos. So I guess that's normal to have like the office for the...
I think you'd want to watch what's going on. And as the money from the bar, it's all cash. Like, it's the 70s. There's no cards. There are charge cards, but it's not.
So you don't
like
want
this.
Somebody gathering up $100,000 and walking to...
No, I would imagine it's more like a casino. Like they're watching the floor and they are making sure that everything comes upstairs and then goes down to the Quaalude safe. The government agents also said there were 5 ounces of cocaine, which became 3 ounces, which became 2 ounces. And Roy Cohn was like, how could anyone believe them? Their credibility is 0. And I was like, that sounds a lot like someone who's orange, who we all know and hate. Bad. It's bad. Sad. No, not credible.
Yes, the orange person, his mentor was Roy Cohn.
Exactly. Ian Schrager. And by the way, do you know how old these two were at the end of Studio?
Let me guess. 28.
31 and 32.
Okay.
Steve Rubel was 32 and Ian Schrager was 31 years old. Like, what was I doing with myself when I was in my 30s? Like, these guys had built a whole, restaurant empire already. And Steve Rubel went to Syracuse. Like, it wasn't like he went to Cornell like his OBGYN brother, who was an art collector and doing very well for himself. He went to and did terribly at Syracuse, but was there to play tennis.
Law people, maybe.
I don't know. But he played tennis.
He's a mover and a shaker.
He was, and interestingly, tiny Steve Rubel, who was 5'5", his brother was 6'2".
Weird.
Very strange.
Wait,
right?
I'm sorry. I don't know if that happens in nature.
I'm just saying that I'm thinking, why would you be so motivated to do? Oh, you were short. Oh, okay. Ian Schrager said that he was very touched by everyone who came up to him to provide support, and particularly Bianca Jagger and Halston, of course.
Yes.
It's like you can't talk about the 70s without being like, and Halston was there. Like, oh, Jesus, where wasn't Halston? And he said, the whole thing, the raid, it's all out of the movies. Tell me, why should an individual who works hard and is successful like me be so stupid as to have cocaine around? It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. And he looked forlornly at his empty file drawers and said, they took everything, even my personal checkbook, telephone books, records of who's booked what parties. I don't even know which Christmas parties are going to be here. So this article came out 10 days before Christmas.
I'm actually stressed out for him, which is ridiculous because this happened a long time ago. But I feel for him in this moment.
Well, I think it's hilarious that he's like, the government took my files and my phone book.
Phone book is a big deal.
Yeah, what cheek? Yeah, it's called, we're going to find out everyone else who bought fucking Coke from you, you fucking Cokey McCokester. What are you talking about? Quaalude guy, 300 Quaaludes. He's clutching the pearls. I have no idea why they would ever take my personal belongings. Please give me a break. So, cut to February 2nd, 1980. Everything is now over for these two. All the drugs, all the money, and particularly, as we know, the tax evasion. It was the tax evasion and the non-tax paying where they finally got very Capone.
Devil's advocate.
Mm-hmm.
How are you supposed to pay taxes on money that you're not declaring? And how can you declare said money if it is earned illegally?
I think that's exactly the IRS's argument.
I'm just saying, if you are somebody how am I supposed to pay taxes on something that I'm not supposed to tell you that I made in the first place?
Well, I think that's what Rubel and Schrager were saying when they said, you know what, we're going to do a plea deal. We're going to plea out of this. And it's how they got 3.5 years sentenced and
no
parole after a third of their sentence. So no big deal. But what they decided to do, as would only be correct for Studio 54, was the night of February 2nd into the morning of February 3rd, 1980, they had a party. They had the party literally to end all parties. And they called it the end of modern day Gomorrah. This is how they titled their party, their closing party. Guests included Diana Ross, Sylvester Stallone, Jack Nicholson, Richard Gere, and his pets.
Stop.
Ryan O'Neal, Reggie Jackson, Mariel Hemingway. And
Reggie Jackson?
Yeah. Reggie Jackson in the 70s? Are you kidding me?
No, we're in 1980. Yes. Okay.
Diana Ross sang for Steve Rubel, and he got up with her and sang in the DJ booth. They were playing Michael Jackson, Don't Stop Till You Get Enough. They were leaning into their own mythology very hard. What I love about it, and there's just really one detail that for me is like, God, I love con men sometimes because they're so, like, when you find them out, it's like, guys, you had me. Okay. Good con. This is from the Daily News, which can be relied upon. And by the way, my sources were the New York Times, a website called Tasty Turntable. But here's the Daily News. Diana Ross sang, but it wasn't the blues. Richard Gere, Andy Warhol, Lorna Luft. By the way, Lorna Luft, a name that the young people have no knowledge of. I think we're going to have to do like a whole Lorna Luft special.
Let's do it.
Excellent.
The Carlisle.
Lorna Luft. David Brenner.
Love it. Oh my God, the Incredible Hulk?
No, that's David Banner, and that's the character's name. Jesus Christ, David Brenner is a comedian.
Oh, of course.
Oh my God. And more than 2,000 people showed up to cheer on Ian Schrager and Steve Rubel for their last hoo-ha. Seldom, if ever, have two convicted felons been given such a send-off. An unsuspecting visitor might have thought the dynamic duo were going on a world cruise instead of to prison for skimming profits and evading taxes. But at 2 a.m. yesterday, no one was thinking about prison bars. As the throng cheered, Rubel strolled in on the arms of good buddies Liza Minnelli, her husband Mark Garrow, and designer Halston. Halston, go home. Halston, you must be exhausted. How many times can you show up at Studio 54 to provide support? Well, you know what Halston really liked a lot of? Cocaine. So I think that Halston, if we could just replace the name Halston with cocaine. His good friend Cocaine showed up in a turtleneck, as he did. Diana Ross climbed into the disco booth and sang. Rubel said to the crowd, "I'll be happy if you all keep coming to Studio 54 while I'm away." The place really went to pieces when Rubel said the drinks are on the house. Now, the best part that I love the most is that after the club closed that night and the feds went in, they started literally tearing the place apart, taking hammers to the walls.
Oh my God.
What's here? Well, they were right. Because in the walls of Studio 54, how could anyone say this about clutching well, you know, we're not involved in anything wrong. In the walls, giant stashes of money and the cocaines.
Oh my I had no idea.
Yes.
In the walls. God, that's
walls.
Edgar Allan Poe stuff.
Or like, as we both really enjoy, like little burrowing rats. They're like little critters. They're like, oh, I'm going to squirrel it away inside this tree.
It's totally Cask of Amontillado.
Yes, it is. Or the Telltale Heart. The cocaine was beating in the floor.
Yeah, there you go.
The cocaines. Okay, here are the things that I love about this little tale. They had so much self-awareness. They're like, okay, it's the last days of Gomorrah. We know who we are. But God forbid you say that we are that thing. But we're still going to call it Gomorrah. How dare you say that we are louche and dissipated? It's Gomorrah. I love that Halston would go to the opening of an envelope and shows up constantly. And I just love that Studio 54 was known so much for being the hotbed for every illicit substance that you could possibly find, that part of what the busboys earned was what they could find in the couches.
Oh, interesting.
When everyone went home.
Of
yes.
course.
So the amount of drugs, the poppers, the cocaine, the weed, whatever that they were pulling out of there was epic. So if that's just in the couch, when someone leaves, they're like, oh, us? Never. Again, it smacks of Roy Cohn. And I just love the audacity. And I hadn't realized how briefly the real studio was around. And I was like, well, it makes sense. If you're going to throw the best party on earth, who can afford that?
Oh, only people who are
skimming money and not paying their taxes, apparently. You know, we talk about Giuliani taking away dancing in the city.
Yes.
And I was just watching a movie that I actually recommend. And of course, I was like, I really like this movie. Why do I like this movie so much? And at the end, I was like, oh, it's directed by Darren Aronofsky. Oh, it's his movie Caught Stealing.
Oh.
And it takes place in 1998. It's out now on streaming. And in the opening scene, they're in a bar and some people are dancing and the bartender's like, you can't do that in here, Giuliani. They're like, God damn it. There's no place to have fun.
That happened to us.
Yes.
In the 90s.
It did. So stark contrast to we're going to party so hard because there's cocaine in the walls and Quaaludes in the basement.
My parents went to Studio 54.
Did they now?
They did. And my father tells this story over and over and over. If you believed him, you would think that they were regulars, but really it was one night. And I know what my mother was wearing. Do you want to hear what she was wearing?
Of course I want to hear what she was wearing.
By the way, I wore the same exact outfit when I was in Three Penny Opera at the collegiate school.
Oh my God.
It was a black slinky dress that was pretty friggin' gorgeous, I gotta say, but it was basically negligee. And this fluffy purple boa.
Oh my. Oh my.
So that's what my mother wore. And they got in.
And then what happened?
Good going, Bebby. That's kind of my father's whole thing is we went to Studio 54 and we got in. And that's kind of all I know. But he says the details of that.
Okay, good. Well, good for her that she got in.
Yeah.
She's, hot.
Yeah, she got him into Studio 54.
Well, good on Bebby. So I think I know what our tie-in is.
Awesome.
In your story, what happened on 54th Street?
Yes. In Manhattan on 54th Street, Peter Stein taught lifeguard classes.
There you go. So when you said
in an office building, which,
right? Like
how are you going to learn?
Not
about
useful,
but whatever.
But when you said that, I was so excited. I was like, we have a tie-in. We've been stumped so many times. So yes, that's our 54th Street is our tie-in today.
It is an interesting street in this city. It's got its own. I don't know. It's a crazy little place.
Funny enough, my dear friend David from Fleming grew up right near there, and their apartment looked out onto 54th Street.
Huh.
They were right near Carnegie Hall. His mom was an opera teacher. a singing teacher.
There you go.
And
Opera District.
There you go. 54th Street. Ta-da!